I think a partial solution to that is just more guns. I mean, if in California it wasn't illegal to own a gun,
I do agree with that, sort of, but I think at some point, if people are showing a pattern of crime, they shouldn't be on the street, right? So if they're dealing drugs and smashing windows and they're holding up, whatever, 7-Elevens, you should be in jail for a long time for those things. And what San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle have done is that they have no cash bail, they decriminalized it, and you could get out the same day you commit a crime. And again, I just think that this is not even political, but I guess the Republican Party is now the ambassador of this. It's so simple that if you don't feel safe in your own great cities, your leaders have failed you and they should all be fired. Thank you. You have one more thought?
One more thought about tariffs. I want to go back to my original
Sure,
question.
I'm very much in favor of tariffs, yeah.
The costs are ultimately passed down to the consumer.
Not always. That's interesting. So why are pickup trucks so much cheaper in America than they are in Europe?
No idea.
Because they're made here. You know that we heavily tariff pickup trucks more than any other car coming into the country? So how do you avoid a tariff? Make it here. So what tariffs do is they're forcing functions for overseas companies to build factories here. See, you're only looking at tariffs through a one-dimensional DC Chamber of Commerce lens. The way that you tell a company, avoid the tariff, build the factory in Nevada. And so, for example, you guys probably, any parents own a Toyota pickup truck? Anybody? They're actually pretty good, yeah? Look at, there's a couple hands. Toyota builds all their pickup trucks here, and they avoid the 25% tariff. So it's not a tax. It actually incentivizes homeland production and more jobs for our country, and actually the price doesn't get passed on to the consumer.
I think hands down deregulation upon
I tend to agree with that, but I also want to live in the real world, not fantasy world, and I think that also fundamentally you have a social contract to your people that, for example, if we have critical vitamin needs in this country, most of our drugs are made in China. That's bad, okay? Like we don't have to overthink it. You don't need a chart. You don't need a graph. Bad that we don't make our own drugs, okay? That 90% of all vitamin C is made in China. You need vitamin C to live, literally. It's ascorbic acid. Make it here. So anyway, we could agree to disagree on that. I think tariffs are great forcing functions, especially if you're a wealthy country. Tariffs are really good if you're wealthy and the incumbent power.
But so you would just prefer like adoption though and stuff?
Well, adoption, or it's like take responsibility for your orgasms. Like don't get.
But a baby shouldn't be like a punishment though, right? Like
exactly. A baby's not a disease or a tumor, so stop trying to remove it like it's a tumor. A baby's not a punishment. A baby's a blessing.
Right.
What an amazing blessing to be able to bring life into the world. You see yourself in that baby. And as someone who's had 2 kids, it changes you. And for those of you that don't have kids that are like, shaking your heads, you have no idea what you're talking about. How all of a sudden you have new conviction, new energy, new spirit, new meaning, new depth, new understanding, where you have this baby that you're responsible for. And you're like, that's going to outlive me. I'm going to raise that child. And you're like, oh yeah, I think it's okay to abort it because it's really small and I can't see it. Like, basically you're saying, like, the Holocaust would have been fine as long as everyone would have been shorter than you.
Okay.
Right?
I mean, I don't really understand that, but
but think about it. I mean, if it's a small baby and it's not as developed, I mean, by what moral standard is abortion okay? We don't murder based on size. We don't murder based on location. It's not okay to kill people in Milwaukee but keep people alive in Madison. Environment doesn't mean anything. Doesn't matter if like where your current environment is, your moral worth, or your degree of dependency, right? We don't go to old people's homes and start just popping off rounds on people that are, have Alzheimer's or dementia. It's like by no other moral standard do we apply to our existence, do we apply to abortion, because abortion deals with something that makes people so uncomfortable, which is that it deals with sex and pleasure and regret. And we think it's okay then to just kind of sweep a mistake under the rug, something you regret. I'll never think about it before, but there's a victim in that circumstance.
Right, but something you'll regret, something that you would consider a mistake is a baby. And so obviously you're saying you'd want to have that baby born, but like a person shouldn't regret and mistake and then look at this baby and think about that.
Yeah, that's where you have to take responsibility for your actions. And again, you can put it up for adoption, you can give it up to family members, but under no moral standard should we as human beings ever espouse should you be able to have evil just to make yourself feel better.
Better question. So in 2022, Herschel Walker would have become the very first black Republican Senate candidate to win a primary and a general election to serve their first term in office. As you know, Tim Scott was actually appointed to fill a vacated
seat. And then won later.
Right, but he won as an incumbent. And what's the incumbency rate in Congress? Does anybody know that number? It's like 90-something, 96%, 97%. incumbency.
No,
I'm
but
just
what-
curious.
what-
Do
you
you know
gotta
when
get
Yeah, my question is, because it's not going to happen this cycle. What cycle do you think Republicans will nominate and elect their first black Republican senator to serve?
You know what's
in
interesting?
office?
I think skin color is irrelevant. Why do you care so much about it?
I just told you, buddy, it's not irrelevant because it doesn't
Well,
matter
hold on.
to you.
No, it's interesting though. But like, you say representation. You know what? The only
Representation
stop it.
matters to you.
The only representation that matters is values, not skin color.
Oh, values.
Yeah.
Right,
You-
Christian values are
Well-
important to you because 100% of Republicans in Congress represent Christian values.
Bingo.
Black values are not important to
what are black?
Republicans
What-
because
hold on. No.
0.001% of your representation.
Tell me very slowly so I can understand. What are black values?
I'm talking about the values of different communities.
No. Tell me what they are. Educate me on what black values are.
That's you're picking a stupid.
You know what
part
black
of my-
values
you're-
are? They're Christian because they're one of the most Christian populations in the country. That's what black values are.
How was the church during slavery? I'm curious. What did the church say
Well,
about slavery?
Yeah.
They did, yeah. But I'm pretty sure there were
No,
a bunch
but
of pastors
help me
and
understand.
preachers, yeah.
What is the difference between a white person and a black person?
We're getting off topic.
No,
I'm
no,
trying
this
to
is your
point out-
topic, my friend. You
No,
know you're now starting
no,
to
no,
retreat
no.
a little bit because
not
it's
a
not
retreat.
going well.
I came out
Tell
here
me
to prove
what
a point, which is
you
that your
haven't-
side
you haven't
doesn't
proved any
really
point.
want to involve itself in anything other than white Christian culture, and that's represented
Wait, hold
in
on,
the
no,
people
no, no.
that you bring to office.
Let me explain to me then, not just Wesley Hunt, but Ana Paulina Luna and the growing Republican Party in the Hispanic
Are
community.
any of them in any leadership positions on your committees? You guys
Well,
do run a bunch of committees, right? I'm curious.
yeah,
how many non-white, non-males are on Republican committees in Congress?
well,
we got about 118 Congresses to pick from.
Quite a few, but
Yeah.
the only distinction I will accept is the male-female distinction. I actually think that one matters because I think male-female distinctions are important. One the left does not believe in. But I want
From
you to
the
tell.
Bible, right? Yeah.
Well, it's also biology. You know, like
Yeah,
XX,
no, I
XY
know
chromosomes.
biology.
Yeah, you know.
yeah. Right.
You do believe in male-female distinctions,
Well,
right?
I'm talking about. I love that you have to retreat to like the biblical male-female.
I actually
I get it. and
I
it's-
didn't. You
yeah.
can see XXXY in your
Science,
blood
yeah.
work, actually.
How did we get on this topic? again?
Because I'm talking about distinctions. So I made up a crime, the first ever for Donald Trump.
I don't.
So let me ask you, from a Christian perspective. We all fall short of the glory of God.
Correct.
Okay, amen. And throughout the Bible, people who are sinners, such as I mentioned King David, who did a lot worse things than Donald Trump. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story of King David. He literally not only committed adultery, he got the person he committed adultery with, Bathsheba's husband, sent him to the front of the line, got him murdered and killed so that he continued to commit adultery. Yet he was a man after God's own heart. We have Samson, who literally, when God came upon Samson, he was in a bed with prostitutes and was in the Hall of Faith in the book of Hebrews. We are not electing Donald Trump as a pastor of this country. We're electing him as a president. And we also see what he does. And this is a very important moral question. Let's say I grant you that Donald Trump embodies some of the sins that you and I both don't like. Is it matter more of what he's done in his personal life? Or does it matter more, for example, when you invade a sovereign country like Iraq and commit war crimes against millions of people?
Well, Donald Trump has contrasted multiple Christian values, but I don't.
Hold on, this is important though. Have we ever heard the mainstream media or yourself come up and say, how could a Christian vote for George W. Bush? Have you ever heard that argument?
No, but
Well, hold on. George W. Bush invaded a sovereign country under lies and pretenses, and thousands of American soldiers died, and hundreds of thousands have PTSD, and millions of people had their lives displaced. We never say that George W. Bush was a bad Christian, yet Donald Trump was the one that didn't declare any new wars. Blessed are the peacemakers. Donald Trump was the one that fought for the unborn and got Roe versus Wade repealed, and we have abortion laws across the country that are pro-life. The point is that it's easy to nitpick at Donald Trump's personal life, but what he actually did to impact the country was far greater than other presidents that called themselves Christians in years past.
Charlie Kirk wins. Comment who you thought won.